Good morning, my dears. Today we would like to discuss big data analysis. We know big data means large volume of data. Analysis regarding processing. So here we are dealing with a large volume of data processing, particularly in business. So big data refers to large, diverse sets of information that grows at ever increasing rate. That is big data analysis. That is often described as extremely large sets that have grown beyond the ability to manage and analyze them with a traditional data processing tool. That means, suppose we are processing a large volume of data in order to take a decision. So, which is not at all able to, or which is not at all, what we say that managed with the available manual tool of statistics. So, what we have to do? We are using some sophisticated, advanced scientific tool or softwares in order to process these data, which are large in nature. So, that is the concept. What is we call it as big data analysis. One of the definition which is given in your text, that is big data analysis, that can be defined as a situations in which data sets have grown to such enormous sizes that conventional information technologies can no longer effectively handle either the size of the data sets or the scale and the growth of the data sets. That is called big data analysis. So, what are the dimensions of big data? Generally, we can say that 4 V's of big data. 4 V's. We are commonly saying that 4 V's: volume, variety, veracity, and velocity. This is commonly says that 4 V's of big data. This is generally we call it as dimensions of big data analysis. So there are 4 dimensions we have. First one, that is volume. Volume dimension refers to the quantity of the data. Quantity, that is volume. As big data is frequently defined in terms of massive data sets which measure such as petabytes and zettabytes. It's a concept in IT. Petabytes and zettabytes. These vast amount of data are generated within very seconds. Clear? So that's related to the volume. That is one dimension. And another dimension, that is variety of data, that refers to increasingly diversified source and types of data. So various source we have data coming from emails, photos, videos, monitoring devices, PDF, JPGs, etc., etc., etc. So there is a need to integrate all these complex and multiple data types in one single format. Then only we can analyze it. Then only we can take some conclusions. That's related to the variety of data. That is another dimension of this while we are dealing big data. First one, that is volume. It is a very large volume. Next one, variety. A number of source, a number of size, a number of what we say that structure. That is diversity in nature. The next, veracity. That means massive amount of data collected for big data purposes can lead to statistical errors and misinterpretation of the collected information. That's called veracity. Misinterpretations and what we say that misleading information. Purity of the information is critical. That is veracity. A lot of manipulations while we are dealing a big data or large volume of data. Manipulations or misunderstanding or misinterpretations, etc., may be there. So purity or quality of the information, that is critical while we are discussing veracity. The next, velocity. Velocity means the accelerating speed at which data flows in from source like business processes or machines or networks and human interactions with things like social media sites or mobile services, etc., etc. So the flow of data is massive and continuous. That is velocity. Velocity, the term is particularly deals in physics velocity. So the velocity means the rate of speed or acceleration speed at which data flows in from source like business processes. Okay. So these are all the 4 V's of big data layout or dimensions, or commonly said that 4 V's of big data. Clear? The next important thing, that is a type of big data. There are 3 types of big data we have. First one, structured big data, unstructured, then semi-structured. Structured means any data that can be stored, accessed and processed in the form of fixed format, that is called structured. There is a structure, fixed format is there in order to store, access and process, that is called structured big data. Unstructured means with unknown form or structure, that is called unstructured data. There is no fixed format for storing or accessing or processing. A typical example of unstructured data is heterogeneous data source containing a combination of simple text file, image or videos, etc. etc. So there is no fixed format for this. That's called unstructured. Semi-structured means data can contain both the form of data. Both the form means structured and unstructured. We can see semi-structured data as structured in form, but it is actually not defined, or it is not actually structured. So that's called semi-structured. So these are the important three types of big data. Then as a part of these discussions, I here request you to submit to 2 assignments which is closely related to this big data. First one, what are the technologies or concepts of big data? You have to business intelligence, like that, data mining, many technologies we have and concepts related to big data that you have to briefly explain. Then next, explain how big data works in an organization or uses. So these 2 that you have to submit it through Google Classroom. Then now next we have, that is advantages and disadvantages. Advantages of big data, that many advantages we have. First one, that is improved business process. We are dealing with a huge volume of data. So the biggest advantage of big data is to help business to gain huge competitive advantages. A large volume of data can be processed, that can be analyzed within a second. That is competitive advantages. Next one, business can utilize outside intelligence while taking decisions. Outside intelligence means access to social data from search engines and sites, Facebooks, social medias. Then an organization to design their business strategies. So this is called outside intelligence. The next, improved customer services, that we are discussed in our previous classes. That is improving customer services. Now we can see that a business is capturing a huge amount of information from different sources. CRM, customer relation management, is a recent origin and developing area in our business. Social media together with other points of customer contact, we can improve the customer relationship. The next, fraud detection is very good advantages of big data. That is the implementation of machine learning technologies. We can identify which are the fraud transactions. It helps banks and other financial institutions to detect fraud, like fraudulent purchase with credit cards. Getting the next one, it helps for early identification of risk to the products or services. These technologies or big data technologies can be used for creating a strategies or staging area of landing zones for new data before identifying what data should be moved to the data warehouses. So these are all the important advantages of big data. It is not free from disadvantages. These are also some disadvantages, common disadvantages. First one, traditional storage can cost a lot of money to store big data. Traditional storage costs. That is, suppose we are using this big data analysis or big data, we committed a lot of cost. The next, lots of big data is unstructured. 3 types of big data we have. Lots of them are unstructured or semi-structured. The next, that big data analysis violates some principles of privacy. so related to the privacy issue. Then it can be used for manipulation of customer records, so automatically it will happen. Then increase social stratification, that means some social stratification may be there while we are using these big data for making conclusions. The next, speedy updates in big data can mismatch real figures. That is another important disadvantages of this big data. So these are all the important disadvantages of big data analysis. By this, wrongly here written as advantages, please it is read as disadvantage. Disadvantages of big data. Sorry to write here wrong messages. So thank you to all.